What would justice look like? Wow. I really can't say because I've never seen justice. I have no idea. I just know people need to be fair. That's all I ask, just be fair. And I want to be understood about if something is out of your control, then give a person an opportunity to make the situation right. Don't put me on a deadline and then say, well, okay, and then now I become an even bigger part of the problem because now I'm out on the streets, and I'm homeless or whatever. That makes it even worse. This isn't much, but it's my home and I don't want to lose it.
If you know anything about Omaha, you know it's one of the most segregated cities in the country. We have all these inadequacies in our housing. Whose responsibility is it to fix it? Evictions have a far-reaching impact way beyond a house. It's a community, it's a fabric of a people. It's how families and friends and relationships are built. I see the reclamation of public space being an integral part of how we think about housing and community, because we recognize that we all benefit from when people have a place to be and live and exist that helps them live a fruitful and productive life. And right now, it's a matter of selection and happenstance, luck, and privilege. And we have all of the tools available to us to address that inequity.
The pandemic has really heightened this need for affordable and adequate housing. And so one of the biggest issues that we're trying to tackle is how do we make it so that people do want to invest in that social fabric of their neighborhood? How do we make it so that they're feeling invested in the neighborhood and then in turn the neighborhood benefits as a whole because you've got this wide net of people who have relationships with one another? So the first thing that comes to mind is this idea that housing is a human right. And that if we're looking at our hierarchy of needs, stable housing drastically affects someone's quality of life. But a lot of folks are just not making the income necessary to keep up with all that life requires of you. And that's really unfair. So if you want to talk about evictions aren't a problem, it's that we don't get paid enough, raise the minimum wage. But no one wants to talk about that.
A living wage would really help. A living wage, a for real living wage. It's hard for a person like me to make ends meet. I'm a single black man, and it's hard. You would think it's not, but it really is. Everything is not a person's fault. We all have setbacks. We all stumble. It's not about how you fall down, it's about how you get up. It seems to me that if you can see that a person is trying and doing the best they can, that they should be able to get some type of assistance without having to jump through a lot of hoops and have a lot of questions about, is it your fault? This is not my fault. This is a global pandemic, so it's not my fault. If my livelihood is being shut down, I don't understand what it is that I'm supposed to do.
There is a real gap between the services that one would normally get from other organizations that support housing, and so we seek to fill in that gap during this era of the pandemic in assisting folks with immediate needs that they have around being evicted and or they're homeless. And in this climate of social injustice, we really need to push for policy change. And those that are most affected, they don't have a voice around it. And we can only achieve that if we get into the difficult conversations around social justice and understanding that people are treated differently just because of the way they look and who they are. And until we work to eliminate all of that, then we can't have a successful nation. We can't have a successful community.
I think in order to end homelessness, we do need to look at evictions. And when someone gets an eviction on their record, it can be very difficult for them to find anyone who's willing to rent to them for the next several years. That is a contributing factor to homelessness. I believe as a community, we have a need, and I think we have a want to help those individuals in need. And I think working and finding ways to prevent evictions is a way of doing that.
Well, I think this is important because the right to housing and to be housed should be recognized as a fundamental right. I can also say, as a landlord myself, I've been a landlord for over 20 years now. We need to realize that these are human beings, and this isn't just a business transaction, but there's bigger questions that we should ask ourselves. I may miss a month's rent, but can I work something out with this person to where they can eventually get caught up? Is there somewhere in the middle? Maybe I make a little less profit, but I keep a good tenant. And I would hope that more landlords see it from that perspective. When you see statistics that show that greater than 90% of landlords have attorneys and less than 5% of tenants have attorneys, it makes you really question the process. Is this fair? And when you go down there and you see it yourself, you see, no, this is absolutely not fair and something needs done.
I don't think it's fair because at the same time they put an eviction on my name. That's going to make it kind of difficult and complicated. What people can do is be understanding, be understanding towards people because you never know what situation they may be going through. Without stability, you have nothing. You can't depict your next move. You can't really focus. That's what home is. Home is your sanctuary. Home is your comfortability. As I say, it's where your heart is.
For me, the word home, it's here. Where me and my husband called home. And if I was to lose this home, I'd be losing him all over again.
Home to me is my children. As long as I have them, then I'm home. And with all of this going on and the fear that we're gonna be living in our car, even my little tiny ones, she's like, well, as long as we have each other, then we're okay.
Everyone's situation is different. What my problems are may not be the next person's problems, but I'm just asking to be treated fairly and to understand that things do happen in life. Until we can change the system and the heart of people, then nothing's going to change.